Good morning, fellow patriots. How are you today? This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. Mike the Patriot on some other channels. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed a time of giving thanks to our Father God in heaven for the blessings that He's bestowed upon this great country for the last more than 200 years. Because that's really what yesterday was. I believe that what happened early in the mornings on Turkey Day is because of the providence of God, because God is moving in a mighty way and things are about to happen. The counter strike has begun. I've talked about in the past, I hope you guys are I know some of you aren't even at work. You probably still in a coma from turkey. So get a cup of coffee like myself, take a big swig of it because I got a lot to go through. The media has not been talking about this. No, they've been talking about football and COVID and favorite turkey recipes and anything other than this, because a masterful stroke of controlling events. Our president plays 3D chess while the other guys are still playing sorry. And they're not even checker qualified. They think they control the narrative. Remember, a narrative equals a lie. And anytime they're talking about the narrative, it's a lie. This might be a rather long video, and I apologize for that. I got a lot of stuff I got to share with you. I'm going to get right to it. Please bear with me, but stuff was happening in a mighty way. We had so much just exploding in the last few days that, holy moly, I just don't know if I can even... I can't cover it all. I just can't cover it all. But this is an important video, so share it with your friends. Let them know that. Let them know what needs to be done. I need to find this one particular post that I wanted to share with you. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're going to get started right here. So this is kind of what happened over the weekend. So a judge halted the PA certification, so Pennsylvania is no longer certification. A judge in Wisconsin petitioned on 150,000 counterfeit ballots, saying what's going on here. A judge in Nevada called the first evidentiary hearing. That means that they're actually, all these lower courts that have been dismissing this case, and I mean it's going, Trump's lost every case, blah, blah. Well, they've never presented any evidence in court at all. A judge in Georgia granted an expedited review, that is to the Lynn Wood lawsuit, and 4 to 6 swing states legislators to hear discovery. Why is that last one of the most important of the? Well, because there's this little thing. Our founding fathers gave us this little document that says how we handle all this. And it's called, our founding fathers gave us remedies in the Constitution for corrupt, rigged elections. That's right. They were prepared for this, and now's the time to use them. That's why legislators are important. You see, the founding fathers gave it to the legislators of the several states to select the president. It's not about a popular vote. It's not even about the electors. It's the legislators that constitutionally have the right to select our president. As a matter of fact, for the first several years, the first several presidents, there was no popular vote. The legislators just set the electors. Bet you didn't know that, did you? No, because they want... the other side of this, the deep state operatives, the Democrats, and the Republicans all talk about our democracy. We need to preserve our democracy. Well, the problem is we're not a democracy, nor have we ever been a democracy. We're a democratically elected republic, a representative republic, not a democracy. It's important because we are a nation of laws, not men. The laws take precedence. So, as we start tearing this down, we start getting into seeing what's going on here. Let's see what's going on. So, where to start? Where to go? Okay, so let me build this case for you about what's happening because it's really starting to take off. So here we go. Here, this says, Another statistical red flag can be observed in Michigan, where the very limited remaining public data reveals that 643 precincts with voter turnout above 80%, according to county records. Further, if these very limited remaining public data votes were normalized to 80% turnout, still would be 15% above normal, the excess votes are at least 36,812 over the maximum that could be expected We anticipate that precincts with the excess voter turnout will be even higher with complete data. Some larger precincts in Wayne counties and others are no longer publicly reporting their data. I wonder why that is. Well, let me show you the rest of this tweet that came out. This is the entire tweet. Okay, I just put the fine print there. So the media-elect Joe Biden won the election fair and square. How dare you say otherwise? American loves Biden so much, they turned out for 782%. Eat that, you racist bigots. There's a little sarcasm in that. A little bit of sarcasm in that post, but I want to reiterate this number. This is a very important number to understand what is happening to our country right now, what these people are trying to do. See, someone said we're in the middle of a civil war. Well, no, we're not. We're in the middle of a revolution disguised as a civil war. They're trying to steal our country as a representative republic governed by the people and turn it into a European trash. But you take a look at this top line, the city of North Muskegon, Michigan, I think this is, because I'm from that same tweet, 781.91% turnout. Now let that sink in for a minute. You know, I'm no mathematician, but I do have a calculator on my phone. So I just said, Pettis County, where I live, Pettis County, Missouri, has I sent a message to the guy that counts this stuff this morning, and he clarified with me. We have 72,000 registered voters in Missouri. If you multiply that times 781.91%, you'll come out with, that means that happened here in Pettis County, 211,115.7 people would had to have voted in the last election. And there's only 27,000 registered voters. And here's another small problem with that number. There's only 42-something thousand people in Pettis County. So how in the world did that happen in this place in Michigan? Me thinking something's not very right with the numbers. What do you think? I'm thinking these people were so blatant in their scams, so blatant in their stealing, so blatant in their lying, cheating. They thought they had the media on their side. They thought they could just bamboozle the American people. They were so brazen. They just thought we could do whatever we damn well please and get away with it all. We're going to make sure that our guy wins this election no matter what. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So let's get to what's happened. Also, Sidney Powell released the Kraken, 2:00 in the morning, Christmas turkey, Thanksgiving turkey morning. It's Christmas too. It's Christmas for guys like me that have been waiting for our side to fire back. This is why she would distance herself or was distanced from the Trump team, because when you go after sitting Republican officials, you don't want to be associated with the Republicans. But I digress. So let's start right here. It says, scanning through the 100 pages of Sidney Powell's submitted lawsuit caused me to understand that even the worst that I had ever imagined, it's worse than I ever imagined. This fraud is monstrous, and the silence of the media is an admission that either they knew about it or worse, they're part of it. I declare they're part of it. The media is complicit, involved. They strategize. Oh, by the way, do you remember this keeps popping in my head, Do you remember back in May or so? I tried to find it. It's been washed from Google. There was a phone call. Barack Obama, it was to tens of thousands of people, they said, across the country. Barack Obama was on the phone. It was a conference call. Yeah, I've been on a conference call, one of these multi-level things before. I know how they work. You log in, you got a number, everybody gets on the phone, you listen to a few people talk. So Barack Obama's on this conference call. How do we know that he was on this conference call? Because they leaked a part of it where he bashed Trump because they thought it was really good because, Barack Obama was bashing Trump. Duh. So they leaked it. But the thought goes through my mind. Who was on this call? Who was the organizer in chief organizing with? How many calls do you guys have? Do you do one every week, every month, every day? Huh. Who are you conspiring with? What are you conspiring about? Those are just thoughts, those have never been answered. It just kind of roll through my head, and I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for that one. So bear with me. Now we're going to get into the meat of this now. This is going to get serious and interesting. So found this guy on Twitter. He's an attorney, and he broke all this stuff down in a series of tweets. And I'd like to share these tweets with you now. There's a couple series, and we'll just start with this one right here. This guy's named Murray, whatever he is. But breaking, Phil Klein, former Kansas City Attorney General, a current director of the Amstead Project. We already have suits in 6 states, but we're filing more based on the new data. 6 states? And they're filing more. I wonder what states those could be. A series of decisions at the local level funded and encouraged by the flow of $350 million from none other than Mark Zuckerberg, our favorite friend. We love Mark Zuckerberg. Everybody knows he's a good guy, right? Oh. The monies that allowed the infusion of the questionable or fraudulent ballots into the stream to be counted. The analysts using government data, that means that's our analyst, that's Sidney Powell's analyst, using government data and then calling out to voters, asking them about their behavior and getting them to sign affidavits. That's where all these affidavits that Sidney Powell's entering in as evidence came from. That in each one of these swing states, there are hundreds of thousands of ballots in question. In addition to the ballots in Wisconsin, up to 150,000 in property filed or counted. We've identified over 12,000 Republicans who voted whose votes were not counted according to the state's data. So what we have here, what you had is it was $350 million coming in to create the creation of this Dropbox consolidated counting centers in the urban core around the nation. Zuckerberg's money paying the election judges, officials inside the rooms. So Zuckerberg paid the election judges and officials that were counting the ballots. And then the Republicans in America were kicked out from the counting room. That cannot stand and should not stand as a fair integral election. Mark Zuckerberg's money alone matched what the federal government appropriations for elections this year was. In other words, the federal government gave to all the election officials across the land $400 million split up to whatever you needed. And Zuckerberg gave $350 million, almost matching it, but in key locations. Google also gave money to this effort. We now have evidence in pursuit of a court order that they actually told. And let me move on. I've got to scroll down and switch back and forth. I apologize the way this system works, but it's the only one I can use live. Local election officials, how to manage the election in these core Democrat areas where you will see all the problems. That was Zuckerberg and a group called the Center for Tech and Civic Life. Sounds so wonderful. They always got wonderful names, don't they? I give you this thought. They told America we need to consolidate our counting centers for COVID. We're going to create a crowd to they said we had to consolidate all of our counting centers in these big cities so that they could, be safe from COVID. So we create a crowd to protect us from COVID. That makes no sense. The reason they did it is because they didn't want Republicans to see, and they wanted to infuse fraudulent ballots, and they did it. The suit was filed in Georgia today. Over 200,000 ballots in question. And probably that number is growing. So this thing is really getting exciting if you like this kind of stuff and if you care about this country. In Pennsylvania, update, 700,000 more mail-in absentee ballots returned and counted them were mailed out. According to Giuliani, the state of Pennsylvania website says that they mailed out 1.8 million ballots, but they got back 2.5 million ballots. That's probably the same way Pettis County could have had 200,000 people vote when there's not 200,000 people. I'm not saying Pettis County did. You saw my number. If you're coming on late, watch from the beginning. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyways, I made an analogy. Forget people jump on all the time. So anyways, as I move along here, to make sure I wasn't trying to throw our favorite Nick Lestrade under the bus because he's a great guy, did a great job. Awesome. Pettis County is safe because we have a guy like that. And that's another story for another time. I hope to interview him and we can talk about it. Anyways, breaking. Now here we go. Breaking. One of the affidavits in the complaint filed by Sidney Powell explained that she observed a batch of utterly pristine ballots. Most of the ballots had already been handled. They've had been written on by people. Like they mark where they're from. This is from this place and this is from that place. Anyways, they had been written on by people and the edges were worn and they showed obvious use. People have manhandled these ballots. Those are the legit ballots. Okay. This is another thread from this guy, okay? One batch stood out. It was pristine. There was a difference in the texture of the paper. It was as if they were intended for absentee use, but had not been used for that purpose. There was a difference in the feel. These ballots included slight depressions and folds. Now, I got something out of order here, so bear with me as I scroll down and find where I put the right order. All right, okay. They could be easily folded and unfolded for the use of scanning machines. There were no markings on the ballots to show where they had come from, nor where they had been processed. These stood out in my 20 years experience of handling ballots. In other words, she's been doing this 20 years. She's never seen anything like it. I observed that the markings for the candidates on these ballots were unusually uniform. Perhaps they'd been using a ballot marking device. Stamp, stamp, stamp. By my estimation, on observing these ballots, approximately 98% constituted votes for Joe Biden. I only observed 2 ballots as votes for President Donald J. Trump. Let me scroll back up here. Apologize. I got to find it again. The problem is, let's see. Is this the right one? Yes. Okay. That's where we were. I just need to get in order, so I apologize. Doing this live, can't edit out my mistakes. Let's see. The same affidavit further testified, this is important, this is big, further testified that specifically to the breach of chain of custody of the voting machines the night before the election, stating that we typically receive the machines, the ballot marking devices, on Friday before the election. So elections on Tuesday, they usually receive the material on Friday with a chain of custody. What's chain of custody mean? Chain of custody means that you are documented which person had it, where it went to, who was the truck driver. Everybody documents who touched these machines. So it's a chain of custody, so you can trace back and see where it was. The letter to be signed on Sunday indicating that they had received the machines and counts on the machines when received, and that the machines had been sealed. In this case, they were asking us to sign the chain of custody letter on Sunday, even though the machines were not, let me scroll to the next one. Even though the machines were not delivered until 2 a.m. the morning of the election day. They wanted them to sign a sworn document for chain of custody on Sunday, and they didn't receive the machines or the materials until Tuesday morning. The Milton precinct received its machines at 1 a.m. on the morning of the election day. This is unacceptable, and voting machines should not be out of custody prior to an election day. Even worse, when we did not receive the machines, they were not sealed or locked. The serial numbers were not what were reflected on the relative documents. Now, my friends, That's a big, as Joe Biden, as I can quote Joe Biden, a big effing deal. You remember when we signed bond? Anyways, I digress. I'm sure y'all remember that. That's a big deal. These machines were not in chain of custody. They were not the right machines. They were not sealed. Were they tampered with? We don't know, do we? Well, I mean, we all know, but you got to be able to prove it. So anyway, so here you go. Here's some more. Holy crap. The PA legislator says they never voted for the Dominion machines. It was mandated by the Democratic governor. That's also came out in Rudy Giuliani. So I'm bouncing back and forth between the different lawsuits here. This is just, I'm trying to give you an idea, feel for what happened Thanksgiving morning in the early hours when all of this was filed. So let's see what we got here. Plaintiff in the case. Now this is what Sidney Powell and her team is asking the court to do. And boy, this is good stuff right here. Plaintiff in the case filed by Sidney Powell one asks court to enter judgment in favor and to provide the following emergency relief: an order directing Governor Kemp, Secretary Rosenberger, whatever his name is, and the Georgia State Board of Elections to decertify the election results. This is what's in her case. Okay, this is what she's asking for. All right. In order to enjoy Governor Kemp from transmitting the current certified elections results to the Electoral College. An order requiring Governor Kemp to transmit a certified election result to the state that President Donald Trump is the winner of the election. Now, she's put in a whole bunch of evidence that they cheated their little butts off. An immediate order to impound all voting machines and software in Georgia for expert inspection by the plaintiffs. In other words, we want to get our hands on those machines. An order that no votes received or tabulated by the machines that were not certified as required by federal and state law to be counted. All those machines we talked about a minute ago that weren't certified properly or signed for properly or didn't have the proper numbers or whatever or were tampered with, throw them all out. That's what she's saying. A declaratory judgment declaring that Georgia Secretary of State Rule 183, blah, 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 violates the electors and elections clause of the U.S. Constitution. In other words, they stepped over the bounds that the Secretary of State does not have the power. It belongs to the legislator. The Secretary of State can't make rules about elections, only the legislator, about federal elections, presidential elections. A declaratory judgment declaring that Georgia's failed system of signature verification violates the electors and election clause by working a de facto abolition of the signature verification requirement. In other words, then on the ballots, they didn't count signatures on ballots. They threw all that out. A declaratory judgment declaring I'm a redneck and I never went to college and I don't play a smart person on TV. Declaring a current certified election results violate the due process clause. In other words, you're not treating people the same. A declaratory judgment declaring that the mail-in and absentee ballots fraud must be remedied with a full manual recount or statistically valid sampling that properly verifies the signatures on absentee ballots envelopes and that invalidates the certified results, or yes, if the record, or we'll go on in a second, I'm going to talk about this. What she's talking about that. What's really important about that is these ballots, these mail-in absentee ballots that they did. Basically, put this in all these states because of COVID. The way that it worked is you had an outer envelope, an inner envelope, and the ballot. The inner envelope had all your information on it, verifying that you're a legit person, that you're real and you had a right to vote. Okay. They were taking the ballots out, separating them from the envelope, which had all the information, and setting them aside and commingling them with the regular ballots. So they could not be separated out once they're commingled. And then they were taking those pristine ballots we talked about earlier that didn't come with any envelopes and commingling them in too. Thus, the fraud was complete. This is what she was talking about. Now, where was I? Let's see here. I think this is where I was, right? Yes. Okay. Now, electoral based on the overwhelming evidence, election tampering, immediate production of 36 hours of security camera recording in all the rooms used by the voting process at the State Farm Arena. That's right, they had cameras and they were rolling in Fulton County, Georgia, from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. until 6 p.m. November 3rd. In other words, we want to see the cameras on what you was be doing. Okay. Plaintiffs further request that the court grant such other relief as to just and proper, including but not limited to the cost and actions of reasonable attorney fees and expenses pursuant 42 U.S.C. Section 1988. Sounds reasonable to me. Yes, it does. Now, that last little paragraph, what that basically means, if you've never been involved with a lawsuit, it basically means that if the court rules in favor of Sidney Powell, that the ones named in the lawsuit have to pay her fees. So she's trying to get paid, which is, why not? You know, they deserve it. They deserve to get paid, right? So I said all that, and I'm leading up to something, and bear with me. I know I've been on for a while. Hang with me, okay? Bear with me. This is important, okay? One major thing happened. One huge, ginormous thing happened on Turkey Day, and that is that General Flynn was full pardoned by the President of the United States. Why is this important? Oh, gosh, this is important. You know, the media is all upset about it. They're in a tizzy today about this. They cannot stand the General Flynn. See, General Flynn was going to be the national security advisor for the President of the United States. But Barack Obama, they went after him. They went after him because he worked for the Obama administration. He has the goods. And something's going to come out here. I feel it in my bones. Something's coming with Michael Flynn and what he knows about the Obama administration, about Hillary Clinton, about Joe Biden. It's going to explode. But he has the goods. And they tried to destroy this man. And also they locked him up in court with a gag order. Okay. Remember, there was an early January meeting in the White House, in the Oval Office, prior to Trump's being sworn in. In that room was President Obama, Vice President Biden, James Comey, Jim Clapper, Susan Powell, and several others. And what they discussed in that room is very important. Their target was Michael Flynn. That's what they were using. Michael Flynn and Papadopoulos are what they're using to get to this president. They were spying on this president using Hammer, which was created by Michael Montgomery, which is this giant computer program that they use successfully overseas to spy on our enemies in the war against terror. But they turned it. They were using it. They used it all along, the president. And Michael Flynn knew it. And that's why they tied him up. They got trumped up charges on him. They told him, we're going to destroy your family. We're going to destroy your son's business if you don't admit to it. He admitted to it. He went to court. They're getting ready to send him. Sidney Powell was his attorney, jumped in. They railroaded him, and they knew they railroaded. They got all kinds of exculpatory evidence that was withheld from the defense. She got all that put in. Then the prosecution, which was the State Department, which was controlled by Barr now because Donald Trump's president, rescinded. They just said, we're done. We're not prosecuting this case anymore. We moved to dismiss. The judge, who is controlled by Obama, refused to dismiss. He had no plaintiffs. He had no defendants. He refused to dismiss. But Flynn was under a gag order by that judge. He was not allowed to talk. This is why this is important. Donald Trump's full pardon now releases him from all that. Something big's a-coming. Something big is a-coming. Now, this is a tweet from President Trump. Notice the date down there in the bottom left-hand corner, 3:30 p.m., November 27th. Holy shit, that's today. Holy shit, that's 4 years ago. November 27th, 2016, prior to becoming president, but after being elected. In addition to winning the Electoral College in a landslide, I won the popular vote. if you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally. My friends, my fellow Americans, my patriots, my God-fearing brothers in Christ, Donald Trump knew all along. All of this he knew all along. And he's been planning and preparing for this day from day one. My friends, he knows we are in a revolution to destroy this great country. I didn't take my phone off the hook. Shame on me. Be prepared. Because the other side is not going to go quietly into the night. But what's happening right now has been planned for a long time. They thought they controlled the narrative. They thought they controlled everything. They thought they had this all planned out, but they did not. They've been playing into the hands of the master negotiator, of the master planner. Donald Trump very rarely loses. And when he loses, it turns into a win anyways. I got a video. I know I've been on for 31 minutes, and I apologize, but I got this video. I'm not going to play the video because I don't have that set up. I'm just going to play the audio of the video, and I want you to hear this. This is a speech Donald Trump made after becoming president, when he was president-elect. He hadn't been sworn in yet. I just want you to hear and be prepared for what's coming. Here we go.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington, and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation. And this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, 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 And then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented. And the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, guys, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefits of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Well, there you have it, friends. Donald Trump has known the entire time. Donald Trump has been planning this the entire time. Do you know how big a cojones a guy's got to have to let them go ahead and steal this election, knowing what was going to happen, knowing the fraud that was going to happen, that if he lost this thing, it's over. This is for all the marbles. This is for the country and the world. Yet Donald Trump from the beginning knew what was coming. He knew what all this was about. The Russia, the stormy, all of the made up lies, all of the stuff, all of these people, including the Republicans, going after the Republicans, abandoned him. That's right. Especially in the beginning. Oh, there's a very few that have hung with him. It's going to be talked about for 1,000 years what's about to happen. Buckle down, because here it comes. Their date for retaliation. By retaliation, look, they've attempted to steal this country away from us by hook or by crook. Through the impeachment process, through the hearings, through all the Mueller investigation, and through this fraud of election where they brazenly, in our face, tried to steal it. And it's now falling apart on their heads. And they know it. They known it was going to go this way. That's why they were rushing. That's why the media was declaring Biden the president-elect. That's why they were jumping ahead of this thing. That's why they're manipulating this election night. That's why they didn't declare Florida when there was 3 million ahead votes. They knew. They knew that Donald Trump knew and that he was preparing. They knew that if they didn't get us to fall away from Trump in the last week or so, that it was over. So the next step in this parade, December 1st, is a day they're calling to send all their minions to the streets. If they cannot take this country through fraud, they'll take this country through force. That's the next step in this parade. This is the reason why you saw all these moves in the Defense Department. Hold on, folks, because here it comes. And I've been on here almost 40 minutes, and I'm going to jump off. But I appreciate everybody jumping on. Please like, comment, and share. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I won't know unless you tell me. But I appreciate everybody jumping on. This is going to be a fantastic time. We are now on the offense, and they are on the defense. this is crumbling around them. Get out your popcorn, boys and girls, because it is going to be entertaining if you're a junkie like me. With that, I'm going to jump off here. As soon as there's more information, I will let you know. And I left a lot on the cutting room floor. There's just so much happening. You guys have a great day. Keep a smile on your face and know that God is in control.